Although we had a planner give us a spatially related answer, we need a mental schema for that. And to get that, I got a hold of my old mentor and tutor, a psychology student and an intern in KZN. That's pretty far. However, I still got to meet up and get a few perspectives from her. Let's see what she has to say with the questions that I drew up for her specifically.
Hi, Khoto. I think, you know, your questions and your, I don't know how to phrase it, thinking, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage because it sounds like a governance and international relations type of question to me. As much as I know it's like related, isn't it? But I feel like a person who maybe did e-governance or international relations, they could better explain and unpack how you take or consider the human element into the decisions that are made. Um, yeah, because I think would be a bit, I don't know what's quite the word, but premature, I don't know, to now suspend our relationships with other states and nations because of what is going on. This is just my view. I'm not saying it's right. Because of like what could go on possibly in the future and what is going on currently. We don't exist in a silo as a South African. We don't work with just ourselves as much as we would like to think. We're not a sovereign nation to like at any degree, I think. So the relationships that are there, it's important to maintain and to nurture and to, so the way I view it is there hasn't been, I mean, yeah, it's quite catastrophic, isn't it, that's going on between Ukraine and Russia, and it's pretty unnecessary. Putin is like a huge ass country, and I think a lot more power as things go. And I'm not really too sure about the relationships, but I know there's like in NATO in between that, and like he's breaking agreements, and involving other nations in wanting to start this war. He started it. But yeah, but for us, we are tied, to be in bed with them because of e-breaks and what have you. And it does affect us, and there is that fear which we could be hit with sanctions because of like how we favor them. But now I'm sure you keep up with the news. Ramaphosa is leading a peace Ntontoni and going to talk to Putin and forget the other president's name, also Ukraine. But yeah, so there's that to consider. I think with everything that there is, I know the president doesn't just act. He has advisors and people and calls on experts in different fields to do research, look into it, come up with recommendations, and. So for me, I think it's important to have those channels um, into whoever's like a head of whatever and how they come to make decisions and things like that. So I think I could say the same for us as head office. We don't make decisions in J. We consult with whoever we need to consult with, be it district officials, be it like a third party, like an NPO or whatever the case may be. So there's that also. Um, I'll have to look again, if your black box theory and what Rosian justice. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was a bit pessimistic and all the negative things when it comes to our government and governance and what's going on. Maybe I just got lucky in terms of where I was put in, because I think they really do try their best with what they have. So I think as much as we are failing in a lot, there are things that we also inherited. I think you going into it, we were documenting there are these other people through corruption and what have you that could get, yeah, informal channels that could get things done. But okay, I don't know if this will help, but there's systems in terms of how to make a decision. As where we are, we just, as much as we hate office, we also at the bottom, because when we want to put something into effect, we have to start and drop whatever submission that you see should, oh, this is who we are, this is what we're wanting to do, this is what we need, these are, like, in terms of financial obligations of the department, whatever. And then from there it goes up a line function. By line function, it's like there's the, like, my boss, who's she's my supervisor, but there's different titles now. Then it goes up to director, has to sign. Then it goes up to chief director, has to sign. Goes up to deputy director. What is it called? What DDG? I forget what's the name. But yeah, and then it has to go up, depending on what it is. May you have to go up to, like, or director or chief director or whatever, whoever's high in, like, legal services. There's different directorates in whatever department that there is. It has to go to legal services, it has to go to HR, it has to go to then HOD. That's the highest we normally, take it up. We don't really go up to UMEC, but those are all the channels that it has to go through INDO, and it has to be signed off, it has to be approved, they have to make recommendations. And from us to do that, we work from EPOA, which is like a plan of action. So there's already a document and targets and things that we work out from the year before, and we work through, like, a financial year. So we don't necessarily just come up with things on the spot. We try to be ahead. There's obviously, depending on where you are, people that need support in terms of training, in terms of financial obligations and resources, and whatever it is. So that's just the little that I know. Yeah. E, I don't know what I would say. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to respond via EVN, because I'm not sure if I can express myself as clearly in a Word document without, having to write up an essay or something, but I'll just speak. I don't know what's in Gati EEP cautionary tale, because, okay, for us, the biggest thing that I think I've seen is as much as there's people also that don't have the correct attitude. We are very lacking in terms of staff, and for me, I think our department and what we do is quite a crucial thing, like psychosocial services. It's quite crucial to leave it to ungabi enough, like the manpower, the ground, the people on the ground could be enough to spread out in a province. And what unfortunately happens is there's just when somebody retires, they're not replaced as quickly as they should be for what they do. So often when somebody leaves, there's such a huge gap that they leave, and because of like our financial constraints, I'm guessing as a country, from our, you know, in budgets, all those sonas and whatever budget speeches that they have, I am not too clued up on it, but from my understanding, mhlambe of the $1 trillion, okay, let me just say a billion, of the billion that there is, a huge chunk of it is spent on salaries, and there's so little to go around for everything else. So when somebody resigns, retires, leaves, um, it for us it's like a savings as a country. So they not in such a hurry to replace them, and I think that also happens because of multiple things. It's quite something to be in like a district, you're gonna be worked to the bone, you're gonna feel unappreciated for the amount of work that you do. So I think to maybe if I say a cautionary tale, we would have to go to back to basics of employment and how you treat your employers and employees, and appreciating them and things like that, and giving the training and the skills to support them in izinto abazenzayo. It's I've only been here for a while, but that's part of it, I think. I'm not too sure about, you know, tool of expression and how we create policies and legislations, but I think for us, we've done well in terms of what we came from apartheid. We did a constitution, and from that, different departments had to be created to make sure that those rights are met. So if you're saying everybody has the right to water and electricity, then there has to be a department of water and sanitation. There has to be a department of, I don't know why I said all these municipal tontonzi that are in place to render these services. So in creating policies and legislations, I think we're doing our best, or we arguably, maybe I wouldn't even argue too much. We are doing like, we are far superior than a lot of countries. It's implementation or but I can't tell you myself where we fail in that. And unfortunately, I'm not a policy creator, or I don't work in government, and I'm not too sure about the processes of governance, but yeah, I think that would be my answer. Or maybe just like a point in general. I think we are unfortunately a reactive country, and in terms of like something like shit has to hit the fan before we do something really about it. We aren't proactive enough. Moti, there's these informal channels that work. Yeah, I think also as South Africans, we have, as much as we have rights, and we can't just be demanding of the state. We also have to put something back into the state, and it's also our responsibility to create those channels in a legal manner. If Nibona as a community, let's say like Amapara, for example, they these hobos and street people are now like directing traffic because of the amount of, maintenance that does not happen and load shedding and whatnot. Somebody could actually do something about that and create a smaller NGO, NPO, and do a short course and train those people and do it. Or they could be like, I'm a community, because I guess involving people that have substance abuse and issues would create issues on its own. You could have like a community watch type of thing and have volunteers, you know to say, okay, as a community of volunteers, there's 20 of us in this committee, whatever, and raise up those points. Could see there's load shedding happening right now, and we need people to volunteer. It's between certain hours and take turns in that. I don't think the state can do everything by itself, or we should not be so demanding of the state that we also forget our responsibilities, because there's so many social issues and ills in South Africa that it would be quite as much. I think it gets clouded by corruption and what's happening, that we just unfortunately end up pointing fingers. Yes, they fail at a lot, but I think we also fail at a lot. One of the things that we deal with is learner pregnancies, and I think there was a stat saying, Guti, learner pregnancy cases in our province was something like 26,000. And what we receive is nowhere near those statistics. But if Uzobega, like the Department of Health, they have like better stats than us. So if you think like 26,000 teenage people, like people under the age of 18, 19, whatever, had babies, you have to think, oh, they're probably going to have to apply for my social grants. So if you think of, let's say, 26,000, a conservative number would, at least half of those people, that's being conservative, are going to apply for social grants. If you think about 13,000 times 510 times 12 times 18 years, how much is that on the states? And that's something that is easily preventable. People have the education of how to prevent, unless it's like rape. Obviously, that's like a whole other issue. But the government has like clinics, as much as they don't work and whatever have you. There's free condoms. There's so many measures you can take before you can get pregnant and give birth, and rely on the state to fund you. So I think there's so many social ills that's happening in our country that, as much as cautionary tales, we can look at the state and governance and what's happening all around us. We also have to look at ourselves, like, what are we doing to ensure a better future? Why is it that people are still relying on the state, or khona nabanye that like Ugropo, KSC, or being in whatever power or seat you are, now you're gonna want to get something out of it. If it was just our heads of states and officials that are corrupt, it would be something else. Then I think we're all corrupt. Yeah, I think that's that's where I'm leading off, honestly, with what I'm saying. Your last point is quite interesting. I don't know if I should, but what I was writing exams for against the APGCE at the moment. So those are questions that are there in like education, or would say does the education system that exists today help, and does it serve its function, or what is its function? Yeah, that's a very complex and complicated one. It would be a bit naive of us to say we should decolonize and turn the education system upside down from what it is now, because like I said, we don't exist in a silos. We are part of an international community. It's quite sad that, other countries like European countries, for example, like Finland, they have their own language and they can function on their own, and they don't necessarily have to submit to the standards of English and the international community and whatnot. But Tina, we have to equip ourselves and our citizens and our learners to be part of like an international community. But again, maybe that's not a fair comparison, because I'm pretty sure their population is way smaller than ours, and without all the problems that we inherited. But I wouldn't say it needs to be like education needs to be scrapped, but it's Nakona teachers are faced with such hard things when, like I said, there's so many issues plaguing South African society. You could see you can't solve everything. If you're just there to teach, even that on its own is not enough, which is why we do like teacher trainings on how to be sensitive to these issues. Even in education, there's like something called a care theory to say that it's not enough to just be a teacher that stands in front of a classroom and just teaches, like use a teaching strategy where there's just a lecture type of thing and a direct instruction, and there's no debate, there's no care, there's no nothing. It's just teach, upase, and move on to the next grade. So I think, yeah, that one is also like quite heavy. I'm very, I don't know, I guess cautious to speak on things that I am not that experienced and that um, clued up on, because I think I'm just at like the beginning of whatever career that I'm creating. So I don't know everything. I don't have all of the experience. I just have like, I speak from the point of what I see.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The human element is not a silo. It gets affected by everything and anything. However, it is a crucial element to the success of any planning instrument or any psychological phase. This is what communities are built after. This is what thought, consciousness, and the workings of other tools are very reliant upon. Through this, we would like to make you understand that the human element is a powerful tool, although fragile.